introduce yourself, say your name, your pronouns, and what you're going to be talking about today.
Okay, so my name is Mars. My pronouns are he, him. I identify as a trans guy. And today we're going to be talking about what it's like growing up, being a part of the LGBTQIA plus and trans rights.
Mm-hmm.
At least for my sexual orientation, I currently identify as queer. I don't particularly care about labels all that much. That's just always been something, but I've known since like day one, as soon as I was able to have emotions and feelings towards another person, I knew that I was like just really chill with anyone. I am able to just like love someone. It doesn't matter about like their gender or anything. When I came out, it was a little different because like um I've always known that I've liked like no matter what gender, but I always kind of preferred like women, and when I came out I was still like a cis woman, so I knew that I really liked women, and when I first kind of addressed it, I just really just came out as like a lesbian to have some kind of understanding with the people around me to be like, hey, like I'm gay, respect me. And it was very interesting because I kind of came out when I was in a relationship with somebody, um, but they were a man. So we were technically in a straight relationship, and I still came out as gay. So that was fun. I had been mentioning it a lot, kind of throughout our relationship, like, hey, I also just like women, like preferably. Um, but it was never really an issue, as more of something just brushed off, like, oh, that's that's something. That's silly. I came out, I think I was 14, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was 14, I'm pretty sure.
When you
So,
came out, was anyone around you kind of judgmental about what you identified as at first? From now, you identifying as queer, and even from the start when you thought you were lesbian.
so I would say I got lucky because actually all of my siblings are also gay in a way. We all have uh, we're all a part of the community, which is phenomenal. And my parents are okay with that sort of thing. Um, so it was really just kind of getting adjusted to society's kind of expectations and like rules for like gay people of being like where you are accepted and where you aren't accepted. So I would say it was really the environment that I was in that was not accepting. Thankfully, my family was, environment wasn't. I would say, so stereotype wise, when I would say when a woman comes out as a lesbian, and for my instance, because I looked and act very like butch, very like a very masculine kind of woman, quote unquote. It was one of those things where it's like you can only have that image to be respected as like a gay person. Like if you are a woman that is just like always wearing like dresses and all like feminine, no one's gonna take you serious. Like no one's gonna think like, oh, like wow, like you're gay. It's like no, you're just confused and you don't know what's going on. At least for stereotypes wise. Well, I when I was in I because I was in middle school when I had come out, and I actually didn't say anything because one of my friends at the time was open about being she was a lesbian too, which was funny. But she was open about being a lesbian, so much so she had a girlfriend in the school, and I never was open about it because my friend and her girlfriend were constantly getting bullied and picked on because they were gay.
Which happens a lot, even now.
Yep.
So your support system was your friends and family to some extent, right? Other than,
Yes.
of course, I'm assuming Youth Connect and BTB. Before you had that, did you have anything else that kind of helped you?
I would say before coming here and experiencing Youth Connect B2B, and then aside from my family friends, I would say what I find comforting, or what I found comforting, was just like immersing myself into the online community of um LGBTQIA plus people. It's just watching content from um, anybody that identifies within the community, learning more history about, like, what kind of we've been through and stuff like that, like anything related, so I could feel like maybe I'm not alone, and we've been fighting for so long, and there's so many other people that are just like me.
Do you still have kind of trouble figuring out your identity, or are you comfortable with the label queer currently?
I would say I'm pretty comfortable with the label queer because I don't, like I had said before, I don't really care all that much for labels. I really just identify as queer because it's like the it's the closest thing to being kind of unlabeled, because it's just like, hey, I'm a part of the LGBT. Like, to me, because I also say to people that are outside of the community, I'm just like, I'm quote unquote gay. It's just kind of a broad term to me, and I don't really have to expand on that. I don't have to be like, well, here are all these things. It's just like, I'm queer. I'm gay. It's just, they just go hand in hand, I feel.
They definitely do. So you're more comfortable identifying as queer because it's just easier for people who can't grasp the understanding of LGBT.
That, and like, because it's not really like that big of a label. Like, I'm not saying um like I'm only into this one kind, or I'm pan, I'm bi, I'm omni. It really, any of those fancy terms, they just don't really like bother me. I just, I very much still look cis. I still like technically act cis, because I'm just a very feminine kind of guy. And currently in school, I'm not out yet, but I'm planning on it. So the first kind of turn is like coming out, and then like seeing if people are like, "Oh, okay, that's okay." But I would say that's really the biggest issue, is just being like um finding somebody that's going to love me as a man and not as whatever's going on right now.
So in your relationships, like, or soon to be relationships, which you hope to be, you're afraid to pursue because of your identity and how people will perceive you?
Definitely. I would say because I don't want to have a situation where someone's like, "Oh, I'm a lesbian, like I'll date you." It's like, that's not what I want. Or like a straight guy to be like, "Oh, like you're a guy, I'll date you." And it's like, "No, that's still not what I want." Like, I'm afraid of somebody thinking, or even the situation where bi people are like, "Oh, well, I'm bisexual, so I could date you." And it's like, that's still not what I mean. Like, I'm just scared of people not thinking of me as a man, like as what I see myself. I don't want someone to be like, "Well, because you are cis, you have these parts, so if you put 2 plus 2, then it still works out." And it's like, that's not what this means to me. That's my point. Like it's I want to say it's not about like our gender or anything really. It's just about like us as individuals, like kind of falling for each other, like thinking, "Wow, you're so cool," blah blah blah. And it's not like I don't want to feel like it's just a situation about like um us looking at each other a specific way because like, oh, you're cis and you're not. Oh no.
So you don't want the barriers in the relationship. You just kind of want it to be free to where you can express yourself how you want without the judgment of others in that relationship with you.
Yes, of course. Like
Okay.
I hate I would hate to feel restricted, and I would hate to restrict someone else from feeling the way and expressing themselves the way that they want to.
Of course. Do you feel like dating is kind of a touchy subject for a lot of LGBTQIA people?
I think it can be, because especially in the trans community, with kind of what I said, you also have like with trans people, if you uh for instance look cis, and if you look like a cis woman and you date a man, then you're straight. It doesn't matter if you say that you're bisexual, you're queer, whatever. It doesn't matter. You look like you're straight. If you look like you're a cis man and you're dating a woman, you still look straight. Or it's vice versa. You look like a cis woman, you're dating. It's like trans people have that like second layer of kind of, I would say, biphobia, um that um a lot of bi people also face. Like it's one of those things where it's like um some people in the LGBTQIA plus community, myself and some people I know as well, are afraid of people not respecting our sexual identities because of what we look like on, like, quote unquote paper. We don't want to look straight. We don't want to look specifically like lesbian or gay. Like we just want to be our own identities, and we don't want to be kind of tied down to what society thinks our roles should look like.
So, with the parents, what's something that you wish for the future of the LGBTQIA people to understand, or even the allies, or just people who are in the background of it all? What do you think they should accept and learn to love about people's appearance, whether you're trans, gay, bi, whatever the case may be? What do you want them to understand?
I think I would want them to understand that, like, I would say appearance wise, it doesn't matter what someone looks like if it's not hurting you. If it's not affecting you, it doesn't matter how someone looks or how they act or what they do in general.
Hmm.
And I think that's like something that a lot of, like, even past the LGBTQIA plus community, everyone can kind of just benefit from, because um, in our own community we could look at someone and judge them, or we could just move on and let them just do their thing. And it's the same thing. You just, suddenly not an LGBT, you just look at them, just let them do their thing, and that's really it. Like appearance is not a deciding factor. Like it's not as big a deal as we think it is.
And for people who are struggling to come to terms with their sexual orientation or gender identity, what would you say to them too?
When it comes to appearance or just in general?
Just like their sexual orientation or gender identity when they're kind of trying to figure out who they are or where they fit in per
I
se.
Yeah, my advice would be to really just experiment as much as you are capable. it's important to not set a specific goal for yourself, and just try and be as like I said, experimental as possible. Like, you don't know unless you try. Whether it's like you think that you're you think you might be like a lesbian. Go for it. See what that feels like. Like, see what it looks like in relationship, like having feelings for like a woman, or like having a partner as a woman, or like and also with when it comes to gender or orientation, see what it looks like experiencing kind of experiencing different pronouns, and play with them. And it's not gonna hurt you to experiment. It's always good. And even if it doesn't work out and it's like, hey, I actually don't like these pronouns, or I actually don't find these specific people attractive, now you know. And there's no feeling of wondering and all this confusion. Like, settles everything.
Do you think people who are trying to figure themselves out should inform the people that they're talking to about it, or not be too vague because they're unsure themselves?
I would say it's important to tell people that you are experimenting with the things you like and don't like, because, for instance, if you are going into a relationship with someone, you don't want to to break their heart if you end up feeling in yourself that you can't love them for the way that they are, or if you're just trying like different pronouns, you don't want to like be like, hey, these are my pronouns, and then like it's always just kind of like good to give them a heads up, because like you can say like, oh, hey, these are my pronouns, but then like the next week be like, actually no, these are my pronouns. Like, that's still fine. It's just always good to like kind of tell people like, hey, I'm kind of just experimenting, so they know like, oh, like maybe a heads up, maybe they will change, maybe they won't, maybe they,
Mm.
it's just like one of those things.
With dead naming, do you have anyone who kind of, obviously do not share your dead name,
Hmm.
but do you have anyone who kind of like dead names you, even knowing that you're part of the LGBT and that you go by Mars?
I would say it hasn't been to my face. I would
Mm.
say it's definitely older members of my family that don't understand, um, and don't, and some that don't really respect me as who I am. And other than that, it's really just people that I haven't told, or yet. And with that, whenever I do tell them, then I could come back and answer. So they don't know, or they do. So that's gonna be fun.
Do you take tea, if you don't mind me asking, testosterone?
Not yet, but it's like I'm in the process of
Okay.
like trying to get started. So.
Is there anything like else that you've tried to do to try to make yourself feel more comfortable in your body, like binders or anything like that?
Mm.
Because I'm not exactly certain 1,000% of things that you can use to try to help yourself feel comfortable on the trans aspect. But I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
there's
yeah. I got
binders
you.
and stuff like that. Have you used anything like that?
Yeah, I've owned a couple binders so far, and I do wear them. I have one that I really like right now. The only problem with them is you can't really exercise in them, because I'm sorry. But you can't really exercise in them, so taking long walks is kind of a little difficult when it comes to like breathing and stuff.
Hmm.
And that's the only reason I don't wear mine as much. But every time I put my binder on, I'm like, wow, gender. This is nice.
On Amazon, there's chest binders that are for exercise. They're like, I think, $10 to $20.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and they're like they're stretchy. Some of them are like elastic and stuff, so you're able to like just strap it on and strap it off. So I would say they're affordable to a certain extent. Some of them are really pricey. I'm gonna be honest. One of the good ones I know that people use are like $60 a
Oh my
piece.
God.
But yeah, it's expensive. But they definitely have binders for exercising when you're going female to male or whatever the case may
Mm.
be.
Yeah, again, I didn't know that one. I appreciate this.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, that's why I
Mhm,
ask questions because
mhm,
part of my TNA thing, we offer LGBTQ support. So we're
mhm,
currently working with some people in Youth Connect to expand their help and everything. So my business and stuff, we do a lot of research, especially since I'm a part of the LGBT. I want to make sure
mhm.
that everybody's accommodated as much as they can be. So I do a lot of research on stuff like this.
That's really nice. That's very, very nice.
Yeah, of course. Um, when do you feel comfortable legally changing your name? Like, when are you hoping for that process?
I do feel comfortable legally changing my name because I've been like I've had like a couple years to kind of think it out, and I'm like completely settled like this is just my name. So that was really just like that last like kind of push to be like, okay, let's do it. Like let's finalize it.
Okay.
And like I said, I'm thinking more probably towards like middle end of the year ish kind of time to
Are you
change.
ex- are you excited for the process?
Oh, I'm very excited. I'm very excited to have my name on actual places because it gets confusing because it's like, oh, there's the good names here, my nickname's over here. That's the sinner. The sinner in the middle is the dead name. That's not nice. Hmm.
Um, have you addressed like any concerns with any other people who like you if you have come out to them, have you addressed the concerns if they had a bad reaction to it, or have you just not really came out to anybody yet?
I mean, so I've come out to my parents, my siblings. Oh, well, I'd probably say Youth Connect, a single friend, and I think that's it. So yes, because I actually was I was outed to the rest of my family, not by choice,
Oh,
um, which sucks. So I would say it was really the people that I didn't choose to kind of come out that were the ones that weren't accepting, which is exactly why I didn't come out to them. Like I knew that I was okay with the people that I chose, and that's why I chose to do it instead of when you're just outed like that, it just you see people's real reactions and what they actually think of you, and that's why sometimes it's just at least for me I'm comfortable enough to be okay with like hiding and not really addressing it like that.
mhm. So you're afraid to come out because of the reactions?
Not particularly. Well, kind of. Well, sorry, because
It's okay.
I used to live in Florida, which,
Mhm.
ooh, mm,
Yeah,
no.
the judgmental state.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I'm completely content with just like keeping it like just hush hush for a bit. But
Mhm.
since moving here and kind of feeling like what's going on, what's the vibe, is everyone cool, like how's it going? I'm like, I am confident, like I'm comfortable. I'm going to like people are going to know who I am. I'm going to be honest.
Mhm.
And that time is definitely coming. So,
Just come out when you're ready, but
mhm.
definitely be proud of yourself when you do it. If they have a bad reaction, that's on them because you're already comfortable enough in your own body and as who you are. There's definitely no reason to feel guilt or anything after coming out. It's all on the person who you come out to. And they can either come around to the fact that, okay, this is what they identify as, I'll accept it. Or if they don't, then you may have to let them go. Because, unless, of course, they're your mother or something, you
Mm-hmm.
physically can't. But if they're just a friend, let them go. It's definitely not worth the pain and the dead names and, the self identity crisis that they'll give you because of it.
Yes, of course. That's like I completely agree. It's if somebody doesn't accept you, it's it's not worth the trouble. It's not worth the pain. It's just not worth it. Period.
Exactly.
Hmm.
I do have a couple more questions, but would you like to speak on anything without like a question being asked?
I think I would like to quickly go back to kind of what you said and saying like I totally understand where you come from. I think that's also like such a sad reality that a lot of people that are part of the community don't like that we still have this. Like it's one thing to already have like homophobia around you, but when you know and you're still enforcing like homophobia, transphobia, biphobia, whatever it is, onto yourself, I think that is so impactful. Um it's just such a crushing reality that a lot of us face when it comes to being a part of the LGBTQIA plus. That's why like you said, it's so important to be proud of yourself when you come out because it's so sad that we literally lose so many members that go like just off the market because like they don't want to do have anything to do with us, and I think that's just so sad.
I agree. They definitely, a lot of people who do have internalized homophobia or transphobia, they definitely do put a huge impact on the trans and LGBTQIA community. And it kind of makes it worse for the people who are comfortable with their identity and themselves. I realize that even now, like a lot of people, because I'm in Jersey, a lot of people over here hate themselves. And they're
Mhm.
gay, they're open, they go to Youth Connect, they go to whatever, but they just hate themselves. They're acceptable of everybody else. Sometimes it's vice versa. They hate themselves but are acceptable of everybody else. And it's because I feel like a lot of people before they came out definitely did not have the type of encouragement or acceptance that a lot of other people did. So I
Mhm.
think like with internalized and homophobia and transphobia, a lot of people still struggle with it, which is horrible. And that's why I kind of want to like try to figure out how we can like kind of avoid that for people, like a safe space or anything. Because there's HPC and Youth Connect, BTB, but there's not many in Jersey alone that offer LGBTQ support. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure in our part of Jersey, these are the only three places that offer LGBTQ support.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, which is
Yeah,
it's so unfortunate.
it is, and especially in larger cities like New York. I'm from
Mhm.
Brooklyn, and there's not a lot of LGBT support over there. I haven't seen not maybe one person who's openly gay who doesn't get hated on for it, or trans who doesn't get hated on for it.
Mhm.
But people will be with them and still identify as straight. So definitely got to be careful with people who identify and still hate the LGBT or the trans community.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's perfectly said. Just so it's really just so unfortunate. Like how how we exist like only to an extent, I would say, because of the limitations that society puts on us, and on top of that, what we're putting on ourselves. Like nobody, as much as everyone is unique, nobody wants to be unique or be themselves, and it's just so unfortunate and so sad that we don't get these um we don't have the representation that we need, and therefore that's why there's like still we're just lacking in numbers that are just going unheard of. It's just so sad.
I agree. if you could help the LGBT/trans community to expand, our ourselves and our acceptance of one another, how would you do it? And would you be interested in doing it?
I would definitely be interested in helping other LGBTQI plus people. I would say one of the things that I've really been thinking of is kind of because I'm completely fine with it. I like to think of it as using my cis privilege. And I like to think of like ways that I could help um like trans women feel more like comfortable in themselves. Like like I have a friend who is who identifies as a trans woman, and I love to boost her confidence and like support her as much as I can. And I always just think like, I will use my cis privilege and my cis looking privilege. And I will walk in them women's bathrooms with you. You know, if you ever wanted to like go like shopping for like anything like I don't know, feminine products or anything, anything that like you do not feel comfortable with, like I want to be your rock. Like I want to have you feel comfortable in the real world.
Oh, okay. So you want to be like the helper of it all, to where you can help the feminine people who like to be feminine feel more feminine.
Mhm.
That's definitely something we can do. TNA is currently trying to work on making a huge LGBTQ group,
Mhm.
and we're gonna find funding to take out, to help kind of with like how Youth Connect does with getting tea for everybody that's affordable or hopefully completely free. And also, we want to work on doing clothing advocacies where if you want to dress masculine, there's a masculine side, non binary, gender fluid, so that everybody's kind of accommodated into what they're comfortable with.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Um, so are you religious by any chance? That's another question that we have.
Not at all.
Okay. So this question may not um correlate with you because I'm not religious at all, but
Mhm.
we definitely do have to ask if somebody's religious. But
Mhm.
do you know anybody who is religious at least?
I I mean, for reference, my grandparents are pastors.
Ah,
Mhm. And my mother, she like whenever something bad happens, suddenly she is a just like a Christian woman. So, you know,
mm.
I've
um,
got that.
do you think that like cultural acceptance kind of kind of hurts LGBTQ if they're religious?
Hmm. I think so. I think religion is one of those things that also really hinders LGBTQIA plus people because of the kind of practices that a lot of them have. Like for instance, with like uh, Christianity, like it was the Bible only says Adam and Eve. There's no Adam and Steve or Madam and Eve. It's just Adam and Eve. And with that, it makes a lot of for instance, like Christian people that like are like, I think I might, you know, play for the same team. It's like, no, not it's not in this magical book. So that's bad for you. And I think that's what kind of like turns a lot of people away from accepting themselves. And even in other religions, it's just one of those practices where like it's only men and women. If you do anything else, you are not you're not that guy. That's not happening.
Yeah, I know that I know some religious people are part of the LGBT or trans community but
Hmm.
have to kind of mask it when they're around their family.
Hmm.
If you do know, or even if you ever met somebody like that, um what would you say to them? What would you try to help them with?
I mean, it's it's your choice to believe whatever you believe in, and like a lot of religions like get corrupted because of just like people's ideas throughout the year. So it is like um something where you could still practice a religion, and on the surface it's like, well, it can only be this way and this way. It's like, but that's not what your this religion like means to you. So I would say like as long as your like religion means something that's good for you, keep practicing it. If your like family or friends like are practicing the same religion and they're like, you know, these crazy people, what is this LGBT? That's no. It's like, you know, it's just one of those things where it's like you have to do what is best for you. You have to like think and perceive what is best for you is
Mhm.
kind of what I'm trying to say. If that makes sense.
It makes sense.
Okay.
With the LGBTQIA plus slash gay community, um, what do you feel like the factors with race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic status of people hurt the LGBT as well?
Oh, I think it hurts them a lot.
I
It's
agree.
it's very unfortunate. Because um I actually saw this. It was a video that explained what it's like being in the community perfectly. Or when it comes to trans people and having a different race or ethnicity, it's very unfortunate. But for trans people, you are only like, well, hold on. It's trans and non-binary specifically. If you are a white person and you are trying to go for an androgynous look, society accepts that. That's completely fine. If you're a trans person, that's also fine because that's what the media always pushes. It's always going to be white people. So they're at the top. Then, if you take for instance like um a black person, society always will push masculine traits onto black people. So that's why uh black trans women will always have a harder time, quote unquote, passing than other ethnicities or races because society will always put masculine traits on black people specifically. Then you go on the opposite side of races and ethnicities and you go to Asian people. Asian people will always be looked at through society with very feminine qualities. So if you are a trans Asian man, you're always gonna look feminine to society. Like there is no in between. The media will only show androgynous white people and trans white people, and they will not show anybody else. We do not have uh any kind of and that's just like the kind of broad scale because I mentioned like uh black people, Asian people. Then that's just one thing. What about what about Spanish people? What about Indian people? What about anybody else? It's like we gotta fall down the rabbit hole of like whose ethnicity is like the coolest because then those are the ones that are going to be talked about. And meanwhile, because I'm Spanish, I've never freaking seen another like trans Spanish guy on anywhere in the media or anything like that. So representation is really low, which really sucks. But I have a lot to say on this topic specifically, if you could not tell. Because it really does suck. I am a trans guy. I am Spanish. I am Puerto Rican. Let's go. And it sucks. I do not have representation. I've never seen another trans Spanish guy, period, not to mention a trans Puerto Rican guy, but I have seen trans white people. I've seen like every like just like the instances that they actually want to put like a trans black person on like television, but it's like we're still waiting a long time until somebody that looks like me goes on like the media or anything like that. So yeah.
No, I agree with you. I'm mixed. I'm Puerto Rican, Black, Irish, and Italian. So I have this persona where I look very feminine
Mhm.
when that's not where I want to go. And I sound very feminine,
Mhm.
but that's not where I want to go. I'm
Yeah.
non-binary, and I'm more of the masculine side of it all.
Mhm.
So I definitely understand where race comes in because my abuela, she did not accept it for a while.
Mhm.
She was like, I'll call you Alex, but that's it. So
Mhm.
now she's warmed up to everything. But I definitely feel like Hispanics, they're very no. No, no,
Yeah.
no. Especially if they're
Mhm.
religious. My grandmother's Christian. She does not
Mhm.
accept anything like that. So I guess it took for her own brother to come out as gay for her to kind of accept it a little bit better. And my Theo and stuff, they don't accept it at all. They don't call me by my preferred name. They don't do none of that.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
And
I definitely
it's
get it.
yeah, it's so sad because, like I said, you see, I went on this whole thing with races, and then it always at the bottom that's never gonna get representation. It's gonna be mixed people because
Yep.
of everything else. Because it's like society doesn't like mixed people. They're always like it's like you're either one or the other. You cannot be both because then like it's this whole just like complete mess where it's like racism that exists in society it's literally mirrored to like LGBTQ plus people. It's like, that's just how it works. And it's really, really sad.
Yeah, race itself is a big topic because
Mhm.
I'm I'm more of the lighter skin tone, whereas my half sisters, they're more of the darker skin tone. So they look at
Yeah.
me and they're like, "Oh, you're white. You just curled your
Yeah.
hair," because I have very nappy hair.
Mhm.
But if I'm on my white side of the family, they're like, "Oh no, you're definitely Puerto Rican. You're definitely black. We can see it in you. You don't act white at all."
Yeah.
I'm with my Puerto Rican and black side of the family. They're like, "A little bit of Puerto Rican, but you're definitely not part black. Don't talk to me like that. Just because your daddy is doesn't mean you are."
Mhm.
And so when you hang around like the mixed culture, they're like, "Oh yeah, girl, you're one of us. Boy, you're one of us." Da 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 da.
Mhm.
And then when LGBTQ comes into it, they're like, "Oh, you're a problem. You're mixed,
Yeah.
and you're part of
Yeah.
the LGBT, and don't even know your own identity. We can't accept you." So it's always going to be
Exactly.
that toss up for mixed people, or even just cultured people in general, where they have the struggle.
And I love that you mentioned that because my least favorite thing, I hate that yours like your race, your sexuality, your gender is a problem to people. It is like that is like your like quote unquote that is your baggage. And that is just like crazy. Like it's crazy to say like oh, like you're gay, you're trans, you're mixed. Like that is like too like that's too much. Like you could they're just like, "Oh, you have to pick one. Like just pick one and maybe we'll accept you there." But it's like you have all these, I can't help you. That's crazy. That's just absurd.
Yep, it's always you have to be one or the other. And I think that's why a lot of white people get representations because you're just white and you're
Mhm.
just gay or you're just trans. There's no confusion in their part. So if you come out and you're like, well, let's say you're Arabic, but you're also Indian and you're trans, female or male. They're gonna look at you like, no, you're not. No, choose one. You can't be all.
Exactly. Like, you
And
can
so that's
only
why they
focus
don't.
on one problem at once. It's like,
Exactly.
why? Why
Like,
is
why
that a
can't
thing?
I just be me and you accept it?
Mhm.
And I think that's
Mhm.
why with me, I'm like, you know what? If they don't accept you, move on, because
Yeah,
there's no reason to fight for acceptance when you have acceptance in yourself.
exactly. Like, that's on you. I have no control over you, and I don't want to. If you're gonna act like that, that's absolutely absurd. Absurd. And I love, like, not I love, but I absolutely empathize and sympathize with you, because like I'm Puerto Rican. I'm also like kind of like lighter skin, uh, especially like if I don't have a tan, it's kind of just like one of those things where it's um, like I'm always gonna be like kind of like in the middle of it all. Um, So it's one of those things where it doesn't matter where I go, like, I'm not going to be accepted by the white people, I'm not going to be accepted by the black people, and like, we're somewhere in the middle. So it's so frustrating because I feel your pain even though I'm not mixed. I feel your pain because it is very frustrating, and it's a sad reality.
Yeah, it's a sad reality because people don't even realize that everybody comes in different shapes and sizes. It's
Mhm.
literally not everybody's identical unless they're twins, but even if there's a 50% chance.
Yeah.
So people don't really realize that with Hispanics, a lot of them are the lighter shade. A lot of us look very white, very pale, or we're in the in between. We could
Yeah.
look light skin or even really dark skin, but we're just Hispanic. People don't want to realize that. Same with black people. They could
Yeah.
be lighter skin tone. People just don't want to accept that.
No.
That's why with the LGBTQ, it's even harder because nobody wants to accept that a black person can be trans or bisexual or be whatever they want to be. Nobody wants to accept that because it's not in their stereotype.
Mhm. Mhm.
um,
It's just so unfortunate that the more uh I would say interesting a person is, that the more that they're gonna struggle in life for just being who they are. Just period.
if you're who you are, everybody hates you. If you're the stereotypical type, everybody hates you because you're so stereotypical. It's a lose
Yep.
lose situation.
Hmm. There's
Um,
no win.
there really isn't. So that's why I say with like the LGBTQIA/trans community, be who you want. Don't let nobody say shit to you. Honestly,
No.
it does not
It's not
matter.
worth it. It's not helping them. It's not helping you. You're lying for nothing. There's like, it's only going to come back to you at the end. Like, you live with yourself. You don't, like, at the end of the day, you have you. You're not in control of everybody else's feelings. You have to do what's best for you and your situation.
Yep. If you start that battle with one person, it's just never gonna end.
Nope.
I know people who are in their 50s, 40s, and they're gay or they're bi or they're trans, and they still fight with people every day about who they are, about their identity, when it has no effect on who that other person is.
Yeah. So unfortunate. Just so
It really
unfortunate.
is. But speaking of like stereotypes and misconceptions, do you kind of stay away from them now? Is that like one of the reasons you're afraid to come out to everybody at once?
I would say I definitely one thing that I do struggle with is like trying not to stereotype myself, but to what extent? Because as a trans guy, society says like, you are doing enough. Do not put on a skirt, because then why would I need to respect you? You're just a woman. Like, that's insane. And that's something that I really struggle with because like I am very feminine, and I don't want to hide that. Like, I want to be able to do whatever I want. I'm going to be respected as a man, and I will put on a cute dress, and y'all are just gonna have to deal with that. That's as simple as it is. But it sucks. I could say that, but I'm still not gonna walk outside and put on a dress because I do want to be respected. So it really sucks that I have to stay in like a box or a bubble of what society expects me to be so that I could be respected. And that's what I feel like when it comes to stereotypes. Like you have to fit a mold to be respected.
No, you're completely right. There's a
Mhm.
lot of people who don't realize that there are trans men who dress feminine, and
Mhm.
there's also trans men who dress masculine or the in between. There are trans people who just dress how they want, and there's not a label. People really refuse to accept that. So even with, lesbians or bisexuals, if a lesbian dresses feminine, you can't. I believe you said this in the start. If you're a
Mhm.
lesbian and you dress feminine, you're not a lesbian. You gotta be
Exactly.
bi.
Like
And if you're bi and if you dress masculine, you're not bi. You gotta be a lesbian.
mhm. Mhm.
I feel like clothes definitely did not ever have a gender, and
No.
it's just what people felt more comfortable in, and that's why a lot of females were forced to wear dresses and skirts and stuff. And now that girls had to fight to wear jeans. I
Yeah.
was doing a whole bunch of research on that. I can't believe females had to fight to wear jeans. Out of
Yeah.
all things in the world, you can't wear pants.
Mhm.
And now
And
that trans people are wearing it, it's an issue. It's a bigger issue, and now they want to take away those rights.
exactly. And it's crazy to think about the history when it comes to um clothes in general because high heels and skirts were made for men.
They really were. Believe it's the
Period.
Irish men who would wear skirts and skilts with
Mhm.
high heels, or like the high heel boots when they would play their instrument. I don't remember the name of it, but that's what they would wear every day, and I believe they still do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a cultural thing, and people would feel inspired, and that's why like people felt hurt too. So that's why the men were like, yeah, no, this is just for females.
And it's so crazy to think that like things could be one way today, but literally tomorrow society can flip on its head and say, "No, actually, the new color for girls is orange and guys only like green." Because
And the
that's how ridiculous that we make these situations out to be.
and it's the fact that people are too afraid to speak up that they just agree with it.
Exactly.
Because
Like,
I've always liked the color blue, and I'm
uh-huh.
non-binary. People always say, "Oh, blue is a guy's color." No,
Exactly.
blue is the color of the sky.
Mhm.
And so it's like pink, yellow, orange. Whenever there's a sunset, color is just color. You can't identify color to a gender. It's a color.
And and that's what I'm saying. There is no such thing as like boy and girl colors. They are colors. We see
Exactly.
that is light reflecting off of the this big science and this is what you see in your eyes. Like what do they say to people that are colorblind? Like what if you can't see blue? What if blue also looks like green to you?
Oh, that's such a good
Like
question. I never even thought of that.
it's just it's just
It's
so ridiculous to
ridiculous.
think about.
People just like to label things all the time so that
Mhm.
they can claim something as their own.
Of course. Of course.
I don't like that, not one bit. And I think that's why like the LGBTQ is more heard of now. A lot of people were like, "Oh, like I think even now, 2024, even in 2020 or 2019, people were very unaccepting of the LGBT, and they said
Mhm.
a lot of like old people, they're like, "Oh, well, you guys just made this up to get more attention."
Yeah.
Not realizing that gay people have been around since the beginning of time. They were
Yeah.
just killed, put on a stake, or burned alive because they came out as gay or bi. If they
And
messed with
always
the same
hiding
gender
and
at all.
all this other stuff. Or
Say that again?
being misrepresented in history constantly. There's
Exactly.
so many situations that like we exist. It's just that you guys don't want to show us that. You want to keep like believing a delusion in your own head.
Yep. the main reason people refuse to accept one another is because they're afraid it's themselves too, or they see themselves in it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of gay and bi people see themselves in each other, and they don't like that. Even
Mm-hmm.
though you should like that, it's representation.
Exactly.
But before we close off, do you have anything that you would like to speak about before I ask two more questions, and then that's it?
No, I believe I'm good for your other questions.
My second to last question is, which this is going to be a big talk. Marriage and equality.
Mm.
What's your point on like how the legalization of dating same sex has just become accepted in like recent years? I would say 4 to 5 years ago. It's still very new.
Mm-hmm.
What's your opinion on the anti discrimination laws and accepting gay marriage finally?
So I definitely have an opinion. I I think marriage is very stupid. um, I I believe that marriage was it's just something that was created. Um, I feel like to not like it was made to not include LGBT plus people, and it was just supposed to benefit men. Like that's I feel like that's it. Like I don't understand anything other than that point because all that marriage is like used to signify and like kind of still signifies now is like, oh look, this guy got this chick, and now they're gonna continue the population by law. Then it's like, okay, that's great. I think that marriage is very stupid. Even now to this day, it's like, what is the difference between dating someone and then dating somebody with a ring on their finger? I don't get it. I don't know what difference you have to put in like what is the difference between being like I know that marriage is like a commitment, but weren't you supposed to do that when you got into a relationship with somebody? It doesn't make sense. And with that being said, when it comes to LGBTQIA plus people, I think marriage is stupid, but if I ever meet someone, we're getting married. You know why? Because marriage is sadly very beneficial. Like because of its like heavy impact in society. It sucks. But if you do not have a document that says you two are like legally together, you can't visit your spouse in the hospital. You can't make decisions for them if all of a sudden something happens. That's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that.
Well, that's very fair. For marriage, I do like the thought of marriage. I think it's
Mhm.
cutesy because now it's more accepted.
Mhm.
But you do got a point. Marriage was kind of just made for the men in a way to take control of the women in
Mhm.
like the early 1800s, 1900s. Well, 1900s wasn't that long ago, but still. I
Yeah.
feel like it definitely was made for the men to take control over. I did do my research on marriage, and there's not an exact date of when marriage even became a thing
Mhm.
for different sex, like female to male, male to female.
Mhm.
But I did find out that LGBTQIA plus slash trans community was only accepted in 2015.
Yeah.
That was
Mm.
not that long ago.
No. It hasn't even been 10 years.
It hasn't. So the fact that even now LGBTQIA plus is not being accepted and marriage is still an issue when you marry someone, it's crazy.
Mhm. It's it's just completely absurd that in my own lifetime, it's like just now you can get your nice piece of paper that says you love someone and now the government has to accept that. It's it's just that's a thought. we have no idea how long straight people have been able to do this, and this is just now an option for us. And that's really just like, that's not even everywhere. It's like, wasn't it in 2015 that that was just the US?
Yeah,
That was,
just the U.S.
yeah,
It was
just the
accepted
US.
2015.
Yeah,
The
so,
earliest they accepted it was, I think, it started with the U. I can't remember the state in 2001, and in Spain in 2006,
mhm.
and then another one in 2008.
Yeah. So that means that that's just so it's so crazy to think about because it's like there's only this many places that are now okay to like marry people of the same sex, and there's still a whole bunch of places now that you literally cannot go to um and marry somebody that you love, or even um be with the person that you love, because it's still bad in some places, and that's just still a crazy thought to think of.
I do agree with that. I mean, with the trans slash LGBTQ community, it's definitely still not accepted, and it's been years.
Yeah.
It's been, I believe, how long has the LGBTQ like been accepted for? I would like to say at least 10 years, but very doubtful.
Yeah.
Um, and even if you do have that piece of paper giving you the acceptance, like to show that you're married, a
Mhm.
lot of people still won't do it. A lot of pastors
Yeah.
refuse to do it.
Mhm.
I see a lot of people who are like on YouTube and stuff who's gotten married literally had to get ordained online to marry themselves because they did not have a pastor or a church comfortable enough to step foot in there and accept them.
Yeah. And it's another thing. It's just so unfortunate. It already took us this long to get to this point, and we're still jumping over like obstacles and obstacles that seem to never end, just so that we can be like everyone else.
Exactly.
Crazy.
Now, with the last question that we have, well, last question and a half is
Mhm.
it's a two-part question. One
Okay.
is there any type of people or communities that have helped you learn who you are and your identity and accepted you? And then the second one is there any closing remarks you have?
Okay. So for communities, I would say because I used to live in Florida, um, there was a single um support group that I used to go to that was very small. It was very, very small. And it was it was kind of scary to be in, because it's in the middle of Florida, and if somebody just wanted to come in and cause harm, that was it's Florida. So what are we gonna do to protect ourselves? So that was one thing. But I did find in that community that uh I am accepted for who I am, and it's there are other people like me, and there are especially other people like me even in places that aren't safe to be living in, which I think really helped kind of uh make me not lose my mind and try and just go back to being quote unquote normal and okay with that.
And you live in Jersey now, correct?
Yes.
Do you have any support groups here that helped you or helped you learn that it's okay to be gay, basically, or to be trans? And have they offered any support with anything that you needed?
So I have gone to the Hudson Pride Center, which is the only, so far it's the only LGBTQIA plus kind of organization that I know of.
Hmm.
At least like anywhere somewhat close to me, and they have really helped. I've also found support through one of my professors actually in college, who I just randomly found out that she was also a part of the community, which was a lot of fun. So I'm really happy that I have resources, and I feel like I keep meeting more people that are able to understand me, which is nice.
That's very nice. I mean, I know that in Jersey it's very hard to find accepting people, even though there's a lot of very openly gay or trans people out here. There's just not enough groups. But I also did realize our part of Jersey doesn't even have a Petco or a Planned Parenthood or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're very low on everything that we need. So
Yep.
it's kind of understandable. But I am hoping in the next few years to kind of help people and open up new businesses and places over here to where they can actually have the support that they need.
Mm-hmm.
Because I realized that the LGBTQ is very open here and very accepted, but not shown of the acceptance.
Yeah, definitely.
And to close off, do you have any last words for anybody who might listen to your story and, you know, feel the same as you, live the exact same life, or have any similarities, and just closing remarks in general?
I do. I do have something. So, I would say at the end of the day, it only matters at the end of the day it only matters who you are, period. At the end of the day, you are left with you, and there's nobody else matters. It's it's just you. And it's good to question who you are and what you like and what you don't like. It's never a burden to figure yourself out. And even if you don't get it right away, it doesn't mean anything, because, like I said, you are experimenting. You will get it eventually. Even though it doesn't feel like it's going to happen now, it's going to happen. You're going to figure out who you are and everything that comes with that. And it's very important to um, continue to love yourself no matter what. It doesn't matter if you present anyway, or maybe you're more stereotypical, or you're just having doubts about yourself. It's always good to just do what's good for you.
I just want to say thank you for coming on the podcast. And I definitely do know that your podcast episode will definitely help a lot of LGBTQIA/trans people. And if you have anything else to say, you can say it now. And if not, then we can say our byes. And I will definitely send you the link once it's edited and uploaded.
I really appreciate you saying that. Um,
No problem.
I really I would have loved this a lot. Especially trying to figure myself out and just hearing like the voices of other people. Which is very nice, and very nice that you do this kind of thing and take your time out to do these podcasts, which is amazing. I had a lot of fun, and I really appreciate you reaching out
Of
and
course, no
us doing
problem.
this. And yeah, I think that's all that I have said. All
Okay.
that I need to say.
Thank you for joining the podcast. I'll definitely make sure to send you the links to the HBC clubs and HCCC clubs and stuff like that so that you can check it out and see anything that can help you out through there. And I'll also send you the links to the binders that I was talking about.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, have a great night. Bye bye.
Have a great night as well. Bye.